My ex and I divorced 3 years ago. She was cheating, but at this point I don't care about the relationship anymore. The pending lawsuit has nothing to do with her or him, but rather their actions. My ex and I have a son 13 that we split time with 50-50. He's a great kid that interests have changed a lot to be honest as I imagine more kids and teenagers tend to do through the years. One thing my son was heavily into at some point was Legos. He used to play with them all the time, and personally I think they're a great toy for different reasons. I used to love playing them with him, and to this day I still collect boxes that I leave unopened as a collection. Well, when my ex and I divorced, she got with someone who loved Legos more, I guess. From what I know, he loves making creations and building the sets in. I don't care, seems cool. He does one thing I think is very weird. He uses crazy glue, so the sets can't break or pieces can't be lost. It seems so weird to me. The issue is, I was out of town for all of 3 days last week for medical reasons, and my son wanted to get his PS4 so he could play it at his mom's. This isn't out of the ordinary at all and he has a key, so he let me know he would be stopping over for it. I told him to have fun when I saw him on the entry camera. My wife's husband was with him, which was a no-no. I told him via speaker to not go in and to wait on the porch. He flinched but walked in anyway. I sent my ex a text telling her to call him and tell him he's 1 minute away from a cop call. He left my home with a bag in hand, which I didn't think much of because my son had his games too. Well, my son texted me later that evening and said he didn't know it at the time, but he's pretty sure SD took some of my sets. These are all old sets, and 2 are worth big money. When I got home I confirmed the missing sets and called my ex. She had no idea, but he admired he took them, but it was so son could have the sets to complete his collection. My son doesn't even like Legos anymore and told his mom he wouldn't steal from me. My wife asked how much it would cost to replace them, and unfortunately it's more than their savings. Actually, it would take their house down payment plus more. I told them if they didn't pay in 2 weeks I was suing and pressing charges. The price in the sets makes it a felony. My ex and her husband are saving for a house which would give my son more space when he's there, but those sets were going help pay for his education someday or a home of his own. I filed a police report and have talked to a lawyer, and we're moving forward with the suit. Everyone is calling me a joke because they are just toys, but I don't get it. They are worth real money. I'm not rich, guys. I needed those to help with my son's future, but again taking this money does deny my son things at his mom's house. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Replace Legos with jewelry and everyone would call it a felony. That's exactly what he did. He robbed you and should face the consequences. As you point out, these actions have consequences beyond just the Legos. They were going to help fund your son's education. Make sure your son knows why you are doing this in case his mom tries to twist the story. As for denying things at his mom's house, it might be a good idea to deny him the horrible role model his stepdad seems to be. That's easy to say when I'm not the one being sued and I don't know the people personally. I think it's a good idea to sue not just because of the money, but because it sets a very clear boundary, and that's sometimes what people like this need. And they are going to be in your life forever. I don't care that it's just toys and neither will a judge. And they are both definitely idiots. For going into your house when you set a boundary and then stealing from you. What the hell? I'm guessing at some point he was bragging about how great his sets were, which lead to your son innocently pointing out you had really awesome sets unopened, and this thief decided he wanted them. He's used the fact you weren't home to steal them, thinking because he's married to your son's mother, you let it slide, exactly because if you don't, they can blame you for hurting your son. You're not the idiot. Be careful not to extort them. Ask only for the sets returned in the condition they were taken. Me, 25, and boyfriend, 26, moved together a few months ago. I'm not American, maybe I need to say this, and he is. Also sorry, English is not my first language. Firstly, we agreed that I would cook because he hates cooking and he would do another chores. That was fine by me because I like cooking. The problem is that he is an extreme picky eater, so this has been problematic. I really like spices, not just pepper. I come from a country where we cook with a lot of spices. He likes the food as bland as can be. I tried to not use too many different spices and make it more bland, but in a way I would also enjoy, but he hates everything I make. An example, if I cook rice, I usually use garlic, sometimes onion, sometimes add vegetables in it. He wants the rice just cooked in water without anything. If I cook some kind of meat, I use spices, but he want to have only salt. It would take too long for me to make two different meals every night, we only eat together at dinner. So I said that we should make our own food. The kitchen is big enough for the both of us to work at the same time if needed, and we could sit together to eat anyway. But that made him completely angry because he hates cooking, and if I'm already cooking I should make for both of us, and I should make everything to his taste and just add some sauce in my plate. He also hates the smell of my food, so he doesn't want me cooking what I like when he's home. Now cooking that I loved has become a nightmare. I don't know if I should just accommodate to his tastes and eat what I want at lunch or when I'm alone. He says that we are a partnership now, so everything should be done thinking about both of us, and what I'm asking is going to make us more distant. It's my first time living with a so I don't know if this is normal and he's right and I'm being petty. He's sulking now and refuses to discuss this with me if I don't apologize for being selfish. Not the idiot, first of all he's being completely culturally insensitive by complaining about the smell of your cooking. Secondly, your solution of separate meals is good. Why should you have to miss out on one of life's simplest pleasures, good food, because your boyfriend is an overgrown toddler who won't eat grown-up food? And he expects you to cook his bland food for him. That's completely unreasonable. I would dump him and find someone who understands what healthy compromise is and better yet, loves and appreciates your cooking. Which sounds delicious. He's being a huge hypocritical idiot. He's saying you're in a partnership now, but he's being completely selfish. He's forcing you to do only what he wants without any compromise at all. I can't see where he's thinking about you at all when he's making these demands. If he doesn't want to cook then he shouldn't complain about what you cook. Huge red flag here OP, and I hope you don't change yourself to make this guy happy. It's okay that he's picky or has narrow food preferences. If that's the case, he can cook for himself. What was he doing before you moved in? Starving. It's not okay that he insists you cook for him and basically cook a second meal because he is unwilling to work on his pickiness. The issue is that his expectations are unfairly high of you and his reaction to your pushback is also unfair. He's lacking self-awareness about this. I would ask yourself whether this is a relationship you want to continue to be in. I, 25, live together with my roommate and her boyfriend. Well, we do live in the United States, I'm not American myself. I have never really celebrated Thanksgiving, nor do I have relatives here to celebrate with. But I do understand it is a pretty big and important holiday for Americans. Now my roommates want to invite their families for Thanksgiving, first time they host, and also use that chance to inform their family about their plans to get married. They approached me and asked if they could have the kitchen and living room. I was fine with that, I just asked what time their families would come, so I would spend the evening in my room and stay out of their way. But, turns out their plans were a lot more extensive. 1. They want to do a 3-day event. First day, her family, second day his family, third day friends. 2. They plan to make a huge feast with several days preparation, decorating and so on. 3. One of her cousins would have to stay overnight because he needs to travel quite far away. And they were hoping that the cousin could sleep in my room. For all these reasons, they don't just want me to be in my room. They want me completely out of the house for the 3 days. I could stay in a hotel, have a mini vacation, was their argument. And that was the part where we started arguing. I have no problem spending 3 evenings in my room and give them space. One-time thing, no problem. I have no problem with them using the kitchen for hours to prep the food. I have no problem with the decoration. But I will not have some stranger sleep in my room, nor do I want to go on a mini vacation, plus who would pay for the hotel? Cause I definitely won't. They told me I don't understand because I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, that it is a one-time thing. I told them I'm already compromising a lot by just staying in my room for 3 days, despite equally paying rent and everything. Her boyfriend made a comment about how I don't understand because my family is a screwed up mess. And the rest of the conversation was dissolved into a shouting match and throwing insult on both sides I admit. The next day, her aunt came to visit. She pulled out a couple $100 and told me this would be enough to cover the cost for a very nice hotel, plus I'm spending money. I refused, citing again that my room is off limits and I do not want to just get kicked out of my home. Money is not even the issue. As you can guess, the mood has been pretty awful and I get pretty much constant side remarks from my roommates. Not the idiot. It appears as if your coupled up roommates are taking advantage of you. Basically they cannot afford to live there as a couple, so they decided to take in a roommate to help with the rent. However, clearly, they consider the house theirs, even your room. You're paying money for that room, and you have every right to lock the door and not allow anybody to use it. Start looking for another place to live. This is crazy. You offered to stay in your room for 3 days, you are fine with them using the kitchen, you are fine with them decorating. You are a very accommodating roommate. The only sticking point is the use of your room. Why is it such a sticking point? Why is it so important to them? You gave them everything they want except your room. Why can't the cousin sleep somewhere else? Not the idiot. Your roommate and her boyfriend are the idiots here. Who cares if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving? It's still your home and they are being ridiculous with all their requests. You comprised so much already. They should have done better planning if they wanted to host someone. Anyways, why can't that cousin sleep in the living room, or why can't they give up their room and they go sleep out in the living room? That's their guest and they should never assume that you could give up your room for them. If the aunt is throwing money at you, then why can't she give that money to the cousin so that they can be the ones staying in the hotel? Stand your ground. So my close friend group consists of 5 people, 3 singles and 1 married couple. Every time we do something together and need to split the cost, the couple only pays 1/4. A few months ago we all went on vacation together. When we were talking about splitting the cost of the rental house, I said something like, it's $1,300 divided by 5 people. The wife said, no, it's divided by 4 since her husband and I will be sharing a room. I wasn't happy about it because they were also the only ones who got their own room. The rental had 1 bedroom, a set of bunk beds built into the hallway, and a sleeper sofa, so none of the rest of us had any private space. But I let it go because no one else seemed to object to that logic. Same thing happened when we rented a boat for the day on that trip and happens regularly when we all take an Uber together. Last night we all ordered pizza. It was $60. I had rewards points that I was happy to share, so we got $10 off, bringing the total to $50. So I said, it's $10 per person. Again, my friend objected. This time, though, I was like, if you guys together are going to eat only as much as one person then fine. Otherwise you should pay for the percentage that you're going to eat. Married friend got pissy about it, the other singles didn't want to get involved, and now I'm not sure if I'm being an idiot about this. Afterwards, one friend said I should just let it go, for the sake of peace, because it's only a $2.50 difference if we split between 4 and 5 people. True, but that's not really the point. I'm not trying to be a cheapskate, and I love my married friends to pieces, but like I said, it happens all the time. Not to mention, they're married so have 2 incomes and they each make more than the rest of us do to begin with, so why should they also get to pay less per person for group expenses? Not the idiot. As a single, child-free woman, I am often in the same metaphorical boat. The way I explain to my married friends is if we're flying, we all pay for our own seat. The airline isn't gonna be like, oh you're married. 1 ticket is fine. And it's just bad math that if 5 people eat but 2 are married so you split 4 ways. That's horrible. If the married couple insists and your singles won't stand up, it might be time to rethink group vacations or else solely pay for your things and forgo any type of group rate. There are situations where it makes sense to only charge them as one when they are actually sharing. If they are sharing a room, sure, that's fine, assuming everyone is getting a room. Food though is split per person. Activities are split per person. They are being cheap and trying to take advantage. Next time tell them that you and your other 2 friends are now ploythrouple, so everything is now 50-50 splits between the 2 couples. Then split your 50% 3 ways with your other friends. They're clearly out of line on the pizza. They almost had a point on the rental house, but then I read that the rooms are quite different. If it had been 4 basically identical rooms and they shared, while everyone else got one to themselves, then 1/4 would be fair. As it stands, the 2 in the bunk beds were also sharing a room and should have been counted as 1 person. But really the cost should have been adjusted for the quality of the accommodations, and the person on the couch should have paid least, and the primary bedroom should have paid the most. For background, I follow the ketogenic diet. I have seizures and pills weren't working to control them, so my doctor prescribed the diet as a last resort to get them under control. It transformed my life. I've been seizure-free for years now, and I've gained a lot of my freedoms back I once thought I'd never get back. Needless to say, I never have a cheat day or change the amount of carbs I can have at all. It is a prescription diet and I have to follow it exactly as directed to keep my freedoms. I measure and track all my carbs and fats to make sure I'm getting exactly what I need, and when I eat out, I always check their nutritional menu before ordering anything. About a week ago, I decided to treat myself to dinner at one of my favorite restaurants. I've been there plenty of times before as there are many food options for me. When the waitress came to my table, I gave her my typical order, pan-fried salmon fillet with a side of asparagus and Coke Zero sugar. I finished everything, paid, and left. As soon as I was driving back home, I felt the unmistakable feeling that had haunted me all those years ago, I panicked, I pulled the car to the side of the road, threw it into park, and put my hazards on before falling into a convulsion. Apparently someone called the cops, because the first things I remember seeing were blue lights, being taken out of the car, and being sent to the hospital. At the hospital I explained my condition, and how I'd been seizure-free for years thanks to keto. They asked me what I'd eaten this past day, and I told them. They said what most likely happened was the restaurant gave me regular Coca-Cola instead of zero sugar, which knocked me out of ketosis immediately. They took my license away for 6 months until I can, again, prove to them the diet keeps my seizures under control. I was livid. How was I going to get to work? How was I going to get groceries? Once discharged I called the restaurant and asked to speak to the manager. I went off on the manager. I told him the whole story, the worker's name, and the drink I was given that could have nearly killed me or someone else. I'll admit I swore a lot and called the waitress colorful names, which I am now ashamed about. Apparently now she's been fired from her job and I feel terrible. So, am I the idiot for being a Karen at a restaurant and getting a waitress fired? This is a tough one. Obviously, it's okay to be upset about what happened. But if the only thing keeping you from having seizures again is one Coke, I think maybe you should take more precautions in the future. Food contamination happens all the time at restaurants, you could have easily gotten the wrong thing so many times inadvertently. She is responsible for giving you the wrong drink, but she isn't responsible for everything that happened to you. You're the idiot. What would have happened if you got into an accident and been killed because someone gave you the wrong soda? You pointed out a glaringly dangerous problem. If a child had been given something they were deathly allergic to, it would have all but shut the place down. The waitress was at fault. She wasn't paying attention, and it could have cost you your life. To everyone saying you are the idiot, the waitress almost cost OP their life. Who wouldn't yell at the manager for that? You're the idiot. I sympathize, but you aren't sure if it was the Coke that caused this, and you probably aren't even sure if it was the waitress who would have screwed up the order or someone at the bar or in the kitchen. And ultimately, if the risk is so high, you really shouldn't be ordering something that you can't tell the difference between it and its sugary alternative. Water, tea, or a bottled soda would be the responsible way to protect yourself. Drink orders get screwed up easily because servers can't tell the difference visually. Usually it's the customer who tastes it and says, "Nope, wrong one." If you can't tell the difference, don't take the risk.